49ers Ultimate Report. This is John J., your 49ers reporter, opinionist, analyst, and die-hard fan. It is another Thursday. You know what it means. No introductions needed. Let's just bring in the co-host of the show. What's up, man?
Yo, John, good to see you, man. Thursdays, it's a great time. A lot to talk about, a lot to get into. So it's going to be a lot of fun, man. Can't wait.
Yes. And shout out to my boy Shifty. I saw you now are at, correct me if I'm wrong, over 730 subscribers.
Yeah, 738.
So you're getting closer and closer to that next milestone, which is almost 750. Once you get to that 750, it is a sweet ride to 1,000 subscribers. So I'm so glad my boy Shifty is getting closer to 750, and hopefully before the end of the year, he hits his milestone, and I get my milestone of 2,000. Hopefully, we'll see what happens, but I think you'll get 1,000 before I get 2,000.
Hey, either way, man, we're all doing our thing, putting out a lot of good stuff, and I'm glad that people are here to check it out and tune in and watch our opinions and thoughts on the game, and I love seeing them interact too. So it's a good time all around.
Facts. So before we jump into the episode, of course, you and I, Shifty, we're very thrilled for the fans who are always tuning in to the show. I want to get your thoughts about the fans. Like, it is true. The fans really drive the show. Do you agree with that sentiment?
Totally. Yeah, I think probably like the best shows that we have are when there's like a lot of engagement. There's a lot of like really good questions coming in and, input from the people watching. So yeah, I love it. I love that like fan engagement, even if we don't always agree. That's kind of like the beautiful thing about sports. We all have our own takes, our own opinions. We all see the sport in a slightly different way. So I love it.
Yeah. And without people who are in the chat right now, which we're going to get your comments, my show and Shifty's show would not be possible because you guys take your time up during your day. We're all busy. I know Shifty's always busy. He's a busy man. Same thing with me as well. We're all busy, but we take our quick time, 1 hour of our day, to watch the show, and then we go back to our normal day. So that's why I always say shout out to the fans every single day because it matters. And they're the ones that, have made these channels. Like, between both of us combined, like we have 2,000 loyal followers subscribed to both of our channels, and we get a lot of engagement. Of course, you do your thing. And without the fans, it's just two random people just talking by themselves and no one listening. So the fans really matter. So shout out to the fans as well. And if you're a 49er faithful and you just discovered this channel, me and Shifty, we do a show every Thursday talking 49ers football, but also Shifty also has a channel right there in his name. So if you're new, say, who are these guys? I got to follow these guys. Well, I'm the 49ers Ultimate Report. This guy right here is Shifty 49ers Talk. So support our channels. And if you like us, you'll come by our channels all the time. So we always try to let all the fans know that there's more great content out there of the 49ers. So always shouting out to all those great people who are tuning in as well. Now let's say hello to those in the chat. Of course, we all know this guy, Crazy Juice. Crazy Juice is always in the chat. Of course, Crazy Juice decided to say something about non-football. He says, rest in peace to Tristan Nash, son of legendary wrestler Kevin Nash. Wow. I am not a wrestling fan. Are you a wrestling fan, Shifty?
I was back in like the late 90s, but I haven't really kept up with it in a long time.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Crazy Juice. I will look up that wrestler. I'm not the biggest wrestling fan. I will say I think you and I know this, Shifty, but there's a famous wrestler who was born here in this area. His name was, he's not a very big famous guy. His name is The Rock. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. But he's from here. But when The Rock was wrestling, I watched wrestling. But I found out I was more of a Rock fan than a wrestling fan. So
there you go.
Yeah. Do you know who this famous Rock guy is? Because I don't know.
I've maybe heard of him once or twice. I don't know.
All right. Fialua out there in this great state of Hawaii is in the chat. What's up, Fialua? He says, hello, aloha, everyone. Aloha and mahalo back to you. I actually learned a term from another podcast who now covers the Oakland Raiders. I mean, the Las Vegas. I don't know why I said Oakland. The Las Vegas Raiders. And he says, aloha, mahalo are like sort of like terms of endearment, respect. It also means hello, goodbye, other great things. Great term of endearment. Just like in many type of slangs, there's a lot of many type of phrases that mean a lot of positive things that has many meanings to what the word is. So shout out to the great Hawaiian 49er fans.
Love it.
Crazy Juice says, also rest in peace, Mississippi State offensive lineman Sam Westmoreland. Wow, I did not know that. Wow. That is not a good day. It's not a good day for sports fans. Tough. All right. We got Niner Gang Wolfcast. And I want to say shout out to Niner Gang Wolfcast, who I've been on his already channel, on his stream twice. Great guy, knows his stuff, big respect. Whenever he has a stream now, I'm gonna hop on and hang out with him. Like this dude, I like his energy. I love his passionate, and he's not so negative like all the other podcasters. They try to make everything negative, but I like his channel. Hopefully, he'll get to 100 subscribers really soon. Let's help all our content creators grow. And just like I told you, Shifty, and many people, trying to get a brand together, bring us all together. So now no one is going on 20 different channels because we have way too many content creators. So working on that. So let's get everyone together. Everyone is saying, oh, Brian is in the building. What is up, Brian? Shout out to Brian. I like Brian. Do you like Brian?
I like him a lot. Yeah. I always see him on, is it like Corey Davis's, with when you guys do like the pick'ems and all that.
Yeah. I like Brian. He's cool. He's a real OG. Yeah. And for those who don't know this about Brian, while we were on Corey Davis's stream, one of his kids just did a little photo bomb or whatever that term is. That was funny. Yeah. Shout out to Brian and his cool family. We got Dan in the building. Again, thank you very much for liking the shades. So, all right. So let's start off just like we always do. I think we're going to be doing this for the rest of the season. Thursday night football. I know it's not a 49ers topic, but I want to get your thoughts on this football game. I know one of our rivals are playing there. I just want to get your thoughts on this football game before we start anything.
Yeah, I think with the I am curious to see the Cardinals and how they look tonight. They're getting a big name back, DeAndre Hopkins. So he was suspended for the first 6 games. So he is back for the game tonight. So I'm curious to see how the Cardinals look. The Saints are, man, I mean, I know, and like we've been hit by injuries harder than anyone, but the Saints are also hit pretty bad too. They're missing a ton of players. But it'll be interesting to see because not only, I mean, we play the Cardinals twice every year. We are playing the Saints this year as well. So I will be curious to see how the teams look. I'll be honest, outside of highlights here and there, I haven't really watched any of these teams play so far. So it'll be a good chance to check it out and, see how they look, and especially the Cardinals with Hopkins coming back.
Mm-hmm. Like, I will say this about the Saints. I thought they were going to be more competitive than they were last year. They've been a disappointment, and I'm not sure what's going on. Was Sean Payton really a really good head coach? And in the 2 seasons, he's not been there. They haven't looked good. Another team that I'm very shocked of, which I thought was our only tough challenge this season, was the Arizona Cardinals. They're also hurt like us, but they're not as hurt like we are. We're at the bottom, number 32 when it comes to health. We are really, really awful. So I'm not sure what's wrong with the Cardinals. And for whatever the reason, like the last couple of Thursday night football games have been a little bit like, would put you to sleep. I'm not sure who's the better team because I think both teams are the same. There's a lot of good talent on both sides of the team, on both sides on each side of the field. It's just that both teams are 2-4. Just like I always say, like the winner of this game will have better momentum for the next couple of weeks. The loser will be known as a pretender. And for whatever the reason, I just don't know what's wrong with these two teams. Again, I am not a Saints fan. Of course, I'm not a Cardinals fan because they're our rivals. Whatever happens in this game, the winner of this will have another week of momentum plus that extra few days, which is known as the mini bye, for them to get back on track. But the loser of this game will be in a bigger hole uh, as the season gets to the midpoint of the mid-season. So, yeah, I don't know what happened, but I think when they put these games out before the season started, they were supposed to be very exciting games. I don't know what's wrong with these Thursday night games, in my opinion. But yeah,
Yeah, it's been the last almost. I'm trying to think of the last good Thursday night game that there was. It's been a while. It's been a while.
Yeah. All right, Fialua says, I don't know. I don't like the Saints, but I'm rooting for them to win. All right, so I've also picked the Saints to win this game. No disrespect to the Cardinals. Again, out of our divisional rivals, the Cardinals are the least team I dislike. But for whatever the reason, I'm not sure what's wrong with the Cardinals. That maybe with Hopkins back, there'll be some energy that this team has not had in the first 6 weeks. But even if that doesn't work, I don't know what's the direction of the Cardinals. So I kind of chose a little bit on the side of the Saints. And I could be wrong, but I personally don't care who wins this game. All right, we got the New York Giants fan is in the building. New York Giants fan. Good afternoon. Aloha. Bonjour. Boa. all these big terms that I don't know what it means. But what's up, man? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, but I picked the Saints to win. Wonderful. Fialua says Talo Fu. Talo Fa. ATC. All right.
Buenos tardes.
Yeah, buenas tardes. Buenos, whatever. All right. If the Cardinals win this, it's a huge step to climbing back to the NFC West standings. That's true. All right. Everyone is saying hello in the chat. Brian was asking about YTC. All right. Yeah, doing a show with my boy Undisputed. Wonderful. All right, let's start off the show with something non-football related, but it is related to the 49ers. And this is a good first topic to talk about anything is our former head coach, Jim Harbaugh, returning to Levi Stadium on Sunday. I found out that it's been already 1 decade since the 49ers won the NFC Championship, lost to the Baltimore Ravens. So I want to get your thoughts on this news. Is it a big deal? Is it not a big deal? I just want to know what Shifty thinks about this news.
Look, I'm glad that it seems like because Harbaugh seemingly left on not good terms. So it sounds like the 49ers and Harbaugh have been able to repair that. But that like relationship, which is good to see. But honestly, I'm just excited to see some of like the old faces back, at Levi's Stadium, like Willis and Bowman and Justin Smith and all those guys. So that'll be a good reunion. Hopefully, with that, it might be a little bit of extra motivation for the Niners because it's a big game against the Chiefs on Sunday. Not only because we have like the 10-year, reunion of all those players, but obviously, we want to get our revenge for the Super Bowl loss, not only that year, but also to the Chiefs in 2019. But I think it's cool. I think it's awesome to have those guys come back. I was always a really big Jim Harbaugh fan. I know he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. One of those guys where if he's your coach, you love him. If he's the coach of the other team, you just can't stand him because he's very loud and, he's animated and whatnot. But it was a bummer how that ended after the 2014 season. But to kind of sum it up, I'm stoked that Harbaugh is back. Hopefully him and the 49ers have been able to get that relationship mended. And just kind of seeing in the comments coming through as well, that as CG just pointed out, is like, hey, it'd be awesome if Harbaugh, gave a little pep talk too, because we know he was famous for those.
Yeah. And I'll get those comments out the way, but let's get the one that CG, that you're talking about. I'm hoping Harbaugh does a pep talk to the 49ers players. And one thing that I wanted to say about the Jim Harbaugh situation, I will never forget the day. And and I think you know this, Shifty, out of almost anyone here in the chat. Outside of San Francisco, there are a bunch of cities, and I was in this place called Millbury, California. Not known unless you live here. It's not really a big city, but I was working out there in 2013, and out there, I think you know, as I know, is a place called Tan Fran Mall out there. And I was just walking in the parking lot. I was going to give me some lunch. I think there was a Burger King there, and there was a newspaper that someone left on the ground, and I picked up the newspaper, and it said, Trent Baalke tried to trade Harbaugh to Cleveland for a second round pick. And I'm like, what? What is going on? And then we found out a year later that they would eventually part ways. It was a bad situation. And then I remember in the start of the 2014 season, we beat the Cowboys, which was wonderful. It's always fun beating the Cowboys, especially in Dallas, week 1 of the 2014 season. An hour before the game, Harbaugh was trying to get a team conversation, and the team walked out of him. The team just walked out. The younger players he drafted stayed there, but the older players walked out. They walked out of the locker room, and they went to the field. So that was a sign, and then we all knew what happened. The Niners finished 8-8, and Harbaugh was gone. So I hope that when Jed York does, and of course, Jed York is a man, just like Harbaugh is, but Jed York better say, I'm sorry. I terminated our partnership. I should have let Baalke go. If I would have kept you, we would have had that 6th Lombardi, maybe the 7th Lombardi. But his pride during that time, showing a young, inexperienced owner who was still trying to get respect in the Bay Area by taking over his uncle's former team, and it was sad. But hopefully everything's all mended. What's his name? Vic Fangio has been showing up the last 12 seasons with the 49ers. So if Harbaugh and what's his name and Jed York are having talks, and they're having a good time, and then he's able to walk in the locker room, then everything will be fixed up. But until then, if he's just there for the ceremony and then he just leaves, then it shows you that Harbaugh still has a grudge. So we'll find out in the next few days. So yeah, but let's get to the comments. Brian says, I want the Cardinals to trade Murray to the Oakland Athletics. Oh, man. And then, all right. So CG says, yo, hopefully everything is well with John Jay and Shifty. What's up, CG? Everyone is saying hello in the chat. So let's just skim through all of these. Crazy Jew says, hopefully Harbaugh could somehow wake up Kyle. What do you think about that?
Yeah, Kyle's definitely not the rah, let's go, let's get a team. It's it'd be nice to see a little bit more energy from Kyle, and maybe Harbaugh can, be like, hey, Kyle, come on, let's go.
Mm-hmm. Fialua says, Talofa, same as aloha in Samoa. Yep. Shout out. Yep. I went to high school with a lot of Samoan, athletes. Good people. That's why I'm a little bit like biased when it comes to them. So they're good people. Like I had 4 friends who went to Division III colleges after high school. They were really good, but they were never Division I. But they were good people. Good people. All right. We read that comment. Everyone say hello in the chat. Let's see. YTC says, but yeah, Buna is an Italian for good afternoon. All right. Thank you very much. My Italian is a little bit rusty. So, all right. Cool. Let's see. CG said also, he'll bring the energy and excitement to the organization. Players played hard for him. True. Brian says, visiting SFO Airport at. Okay. He's visiting SF Airport. Okay. All right. Niner Gang Wolfcat says, yeah, crazy what happened with Harbaugh. True. Either way, thank God Baalke is gone. Yeah. Sheesh. All right. CG says, Hurt Kendrick Bourne could be traded. Have you heard anything about that, CG? I mean, not CG. My bad. Look, I called you CG by accident. No, your name is Shifty. I am so sorry, man. Oh, man. Anyway, so Shifty, have you heard any rumors about Kendrick Bourne trade?
I haven't. This is the first I've heard of it, but I don't know if. I mean, I guess it would depend on. I know he has like a decent sized contract, but I think that ship has sailed. And I really don't. I don't think our wide receivers are really the issue because we don't really throw the ball to the wide receivers that much. But if it was like a vet minimum deal and we gave up like a 7th round pick in like a year, 2024, I like Kendrick Bourne. I think he's a really good energy guy. Made some big plays, especially on 3rd down in the red zone, but also is known for dropping some bad passes too. But yeah, I haven't heard. I just heard that right now, so be interesting. We'll see where he goes.
So Dan says, I don't think you should have Jim in the locker room trying to give a pep talk to our current players. If I was Kyle, I would be mad.
Yeah,
Kyle,
I agree too. It would kind of like undermine, what Kyle's trying to do. But yeah, and more kind of joking around.
Let's see. Is Milbrae next to SFO? It's hard to explain, but it's not really next to that city. But anyway, let's continue moving on. CG says, "Damn, we need the players to wake up." All right, SFO's close, sort of, but anyway. All right, let's move on, and let's ask this question. Your thoughts on the Falcons 49ers game?
So, whenever you're a better team on paper, even with all of our injuries, we're a better team than the Falcons. Some of the things that you can't do is like turn the ball over. Our first drive of the game, we're already down 7-0. We turn the ball over, bam, return for 14-0. Just a really difficult game to watch because here's the thing too. The team, and we were down 14-0, and let's give credit where it's due. We were able to get back and get 14-14. And Shanahan, I think, rightfully pointed out, to me, one of the biggest plays in the game was 3rd and 13, second quarter. It's 14-14. We've got a ton of momentum back, and we let Mariota run up the middle for like 15, 16 yards somehow. I love D'Amico Ryans, but that play call I wasn't crazy about. But anyway, and then from there, we didn't score another point for the rest of the game. So it was really sloppy, a ton of missed opportunities. We've all talked about it in different shows with the pass to Charlie Werner, the pass to Ray McLeod, and just Atlanta, I think to sum the game up is Atlanta did to us what we always like to do to other teams. Atlanta had more rushing yards than passing yards. They had 160 rushing yards. We only had 50. We turned the ball over, 3 times? And I think in some ways we did underrate Atlanta. Now, to me, going into the game, I want to say, if I remember, my prediction was 27-20 to the Niners. So I know some people were talking about it's going to be a blowout. It's going to be an easy game. I wasn't thinking that necessarily, but I did think we were going to win. But you just have to give credit to Atlanta. They had a game plan, and I think it was a fairly simple game plan, but they exploited our weaknesses. Those RPOs, the read options, the using, Mariota to run the ball, and just really being able to exploit what we don't do well. And in fairness, it's not really an excuse, but man, the amount of freaking injuries, is just ridiculous. Charvarius Ward missing most of the game, Ebukam in and out of the lineup. And, when you have on defense, it ended up being 8 of our starters were not even out there. 8 of our projected starters were not out there. It's just, it's hard to win, and again, let's give the Falcons some credit, but to me, really frustrating. And it just seemed almost from the get-go that it was oh, this is just not going to go well.
Mm-hmm. Niner Gang Wolfcat says, we're starting to pass a lot more, and Bourne was always the clutch receiver. All right. YTC says, the Falcons are slouch. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bucks keep struggling and maybe they'll win the South. All right, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, that division's not good at all.
CG says, I'm hoping Danny Gray plays soon. That's another good question. But all right, but CG says still with the Harbaugh talk. Harbaugh prep talks would boost the team. Shanahan won't have to worry about a college coach taking his job. Anyway, we'll see what happens on Sunday. But this is actually a good point. And I want to get your thoughts on this because I'm trying to understand why we drafted Danny Gray. We kept him on the roster, and we're not using him. So I want to get your thoughts on why Danny Gray's not playing.
I think it's just sometimes it can come down to a numbers thing where, like when you look at the wide receivers, of course, we're always going to have Ayuk, Debo, Jawan Jennings, Ray McLeod because of his return ability. And even though sometimes he almost gives me anxiety when he returns the ball because I think he's just going to fumble it, but he had a really good return against the Falcons, a really nice punt return. I think he took it back for like 30 plus yards, which set up our second touchdown drive. But that's 4. And then I think they really value Malik Turner as well on special teams. I think it's one of those things where we see that our special teams, and it is a major issue with like kick return coverage, punt return coverage. So they want to have those special teams guys out there. But at the end of the day, too, look, I believe Danny Gray should be playing more. We could all talk about if it was Danny Gray on that deep pass to Ray, would that have been a touchdown? But I'd like to see Danny Gray out there a lot more because he has that speed. And that's something that this team kind of lacks. You know, you don't really see the splash plays from the 49ers. You don't really see the 60 plus yard touchdowns. He's someone who can do that. So I'd like to see him out there because he's the guy who can like change the game in an instant if we hit that deep pass to Gray. So, but I think for right now, I mean, Shanahan is maybe erring on the side of let's just make sure the special teams have their guys. So, but we'll see. You know, I hope going forward. And I think against the Chiefs, I think we'll see Danny Gray because we know that no matter how good our defense is, the Chiefs are still going to put up points. So we're going to need to be able to respond. And Danny Gray is someone who can help do that.
Yeah. And one thing that was brought up, why I have this comment up here, is that George Kittle or I don't know if it was George Kittle or Kyle Juszczyk, but one of them said that if you block for Kyle, you get the football. If you are a receiver who is part of the blocking scheme, going down the field to open up the lanes, you're going to get the ball. And for whatever the reason, if Danny Gray is not a blocking wide receiver where his specialist is just to go deep or catch the ball and use his speed to go down there, then he's a pure wide receiver. Like Deebo Samuel is not a blocking wide receiver, but because of the seniority and how many years he's played, he's earned that spot. But if you're not blocking, you're not going to get the football. And I don't know why Kyle and why the players said that. That's just dumb in my opinion. So I don't know why, just because he doesn't block, he's not going to get the ball. So that's my thoughts about that. And maybe that makes a lot of sense why Ross Dwelley does not get a lot of catches, because Charlie Warner blocks. And when we saw that pass where Charlie Warner, if Ross Dwelley was there or George Kittle, they would have caught the football because Charlie Warner is a blocking tight end. He's not a pass catching tight end. So you see Kyle and the way he operates. Okay, Ross Dwelley, you're not blocking, so I'm only going to use you whenever I feel you have to be on there. No, come on. You drafted these players. You signed these players. Use them. So I'm just lost. Anyway. All right.
It's frustrating, man. It's frustrating. I hear you. I'm right there with you.
CG says he can get better with being coached up. Block lets him get involved in the passing game. All right. Thea Lewis says yes. They need to put Danny Gray. Our other teams start to figure out our offense. True. Plays our offense close because they know our offense hardly goes deep. Yep. True. Stop with the system guy. It's BS. Put the best players. True. And then Niner Gang Wolfcat says Kittle coming out party. All right. Cool. I've already given my thoughts about this game. I will say this. We cannot put everything on Jimmy Garoppolo. I know everything would be put on Jimmy Garoppolo. He's the quarterback, but the receivers should have caught the ball. Kyle should have uh, done like a 2-minute offense, even though it was still 10 minutes and 49 seconds. Coaching was a problem. Of course, players were injured, and basically we were outplayed and outcoached. Very simple. I've said all my piece about that. I just wanted to summarize some of the things that happened in the game. All right. So I'm a little bit nervous about this topic, but I want to get Shifty's thoughts. Your thoughts on Jimmy Garoppolo's performance?
I thought it was pretty good. Far from perfect. Jimmy never is. And for me, I go in with there's like certain expectations I have for Garoppolo. But overall, I mean, I don't think you can necessarily put this loss on him. Now, the interception at the end of the half, that's just like, there's 3 or 4 seconds left. You just kind of throw it up, whatever. But the other one was definitely on Jimmy a little bit more. He really should have hit Debo. If you look at that play, he could have hit Debo maybe a split second earlier, would have been a catch. But also Jimmy threw that one high. Ball gets deflected up, and then Falcons intercept it. And we were actually moving the ball on that drive too. Outside of that, though, I mean, I really can't put this game on Garoppolo. I think the defense really struggled to get off the field. And let's be real. It's like the defense did only give up 21 points. So I think you have to, I don't know what percentage of it, but you have to put some blame on Jeff Wilson Jr. He fumbled the ball. It was returned for a touchdown. Bam, it's 14-0 Falcons. They're at home. Their crowd's going crazy. So, that was a big play, but we just didn't run the ball effectively. I thought Garoppolo made the throws that were there. Now, his stats did get a little bit padded because you'll see his stats and it's like almost 300 yards. Like that, there's like a last drive with like a minute left where it was game over. And he got an extra like 60, 70 yards passing. So far from perfect. But with what the Niners like to do, like going into the game, like if you told me we'd get that kind of a performance out of Garoppolo, then I thought we would have probably won the game because we're normally so effective at running the football. 16 rushes for 50 yards for the 49ers. Ain't going to cut it. Now, it could be a case of whether Kyle was like, oh, after Jeff Wilson Jr. fumbled it, he's like, I don't really know if I can trust Jeff Wilson Jr. now. But then you get Tevin Coleman in there, get Jordan Mason in there, TDP, whoever else. But to kind of focus on Garoppolo, I think he played within the offense. He made some deep throws, like the plays that could have been there. Of course, we talked about the Charlie Werner. That was perfect. Like there's no receiver in the NFL. I don't even care if you're like a blocking tight end, which Charlie Werner is. You got to make that catch. John Jay, you could have made that catch. I could have made that catch. The ball was right freaking here. Then we talk about the Ray McLeod. Now, some people I know on Twitter are like, well, it was a little bit off. Yeah, but at the end of the day, like that was a play call that they called up. It was the right call because he actually was open. And just fingertips, but then also, and I know, I think CG's pointed out, but like there was that throw to Brandon Ayuk way down the field that would have been like a 40-yard pass, and Brendel called for holding. But so I think Garoppolo played a pretty good game, good enough to win. Not perfect, not a Mahomes type, not a top 10 quarterback type game, but played good enough to win. Just everything else around wasn't good enough. Now, and that's the thing with Garoppolo. Anyone who thinks that, oh, he needs to be the guy who's going to carry us to a win, that's not him. He needs just to play sound football accompanied with good running and good defense. That's why we drafted Trey Lance, because we know Garoppolo's not the guy to go out and throw 300-400 yards to win the game. So at the end of the day, I'm like, I thought Garoppolo played pretty well. He wasn't the reason why we lost the game. That's for damn sure.
And I know after a loss, 49er fans are going to say things that, oh, let's blame this person. Let's blame this person. Let's blame this person. And we're going to talk about a little bit about some of the stuff that no one is really talking about. And CG wrote this, CG says, can't blame those drops. So I want I want to do an argument about like drop passes or drop passes. It doesn't matter who you are. Okay, this guy, says he's played football before, so he's been on a football field. And if a receiver drops a pass, the receiver dropped the pass. Okay, now Ray McLeod, the ball was a little bit thrown a little bit to the side, but you could have stretched your body and stretched. Of course, like these receivers are able to do things. I was having an argument with somebody before the season started. It was a preseason game. I forgot who was playing, but the quarterback threw the ball, and the ball was tipped in the hand. If the tight end would have jumped up, the ball would have been caught and would not have been tipped. A lot of these NFL coaches who coach wide receivers and tight ends, what are you doing? We used to see football players would jump up, will stretch their bodies, would go to the ground and try to get the ball. Now, today, receivers don't want to do that. I don't know if coaches are telling them not to do that. And at the end of the day, I don't know why Ray McLeod did not stretch and reach for the ball. But I will say this, even if he would have caught that, it was not a touchdown because the momentum of the ball and the momentum of his body was going to be a rolling catch. If he would have caught it, he would have rolled and got an additional 5 yards. So they have to catch the ball. Don't even get me started about Charlie Warner. He was wide open, wide effing open. Okay, I don't want to use the other word, but I'm going to use the word with the letter F. He was wide open. The ball was on your hand. Let's talk about Jake Brendel right here. Jake Brendel, a lot of people say, oh, that was not a holding. Jake Brendel grabbed the person around his shoulder, and the momentum of the rush made him fall on Brendel. Watch the replay, okay? And that was a perfectly nice thrown ball to a wide open Ayuk. I think he was down like 25, 30 yards down from the line of scrimmage. Okay? So for anyone who's a little bit harsh on Jimmy Garoppolo, I get it. There were some things that he did was wrong. Okay? When he forces the throw, the interception of what's his name? What is his name? Deebo Samuel. The ball was a little bit high, but he forced it. If he would have thrown lower, the ball would have not been tipped. The ball would have been caught. So there are some throws that you have to criticize Jimmy Garoppolo. But for anyone says, oh, it's still the quarterback's fault for the receivers dropping the football. I don't know what they're seeing, but at the end of the day, there was a lot of plays. And tell me if I'm wrong, Shifty. The Carolina game and the Falcons game, Jimmy Garoppolo, I think, has thrown about close to 10 passes in 2 games. That's more in any stretch during the season. Would you agree that Jimmy is now stretching the football?
Yeah, and I really liked what he did against Carolina. Again, far from perfect, and I think we all have to get real with our expectations for Garoppolo. We know he's not perfect. That's why we traded away 3 first-round picks to replace him. But reality is this season, once we get guys coming back healthy, we are a Super Bowl contending team, even with a guy like Garoppolo. But I like what Garoppolo did against Carolina, throwing it up when it comes to like one-on-one coverages. He threw it deep to Danny Gray in the Carolina game. Against Atlanta, we were airing it out, and I think the throws were actually pretty good against Atlanta too. So, I think we need to keep doing that. I think we need to keep trying to stretch defenses. I think the big issue is what's really happening here is our run game has definitely, especially against Atlanta, was not good. But the big thing that I think defenses have really figured out is this whole Deebo Samuel running. Like the whole Deebo Samuel running the football this year has not been good. Like I can't even, outside of that one play that Deebo made against Seattle, that was like a 50-yard run, and Deebo made that happen. It was a play that, if it's not Deebo Samuel, that play probably loses 2 or 3 yards. But outside of that one run, like that play hasn't been effective. Last year, that was our ace in the hole. That was the play we could always go to and be like, we're going to get 7-10 yards. Now we're getting nothing. We're getting 1, maybe 2 yards. So, and I think it's going to be during the bye week where Shanahan, Anthony Lynn, and the offensive coaches are going to have to reevaluate stuff because they probably,
Yep.
I mean, they went into the year thinking it's going to be Trey Lance and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, it's, but I think, kind of going back to Garoppolo and not to get sidetracked is I hope that we keep airing it out. When we get those one-on-one matchups, test the defense because it's either going to be most likely when it's a one-on-one matchup down the field, it's either going to be a catch, a defensive pass interference, incomplete, and then maybe a small chance of an interception.
Mhm.
So, I think we just got to keep doing it, and then defenses will have to respect it.
Yeah. I want to say what's up to my boy Joe Griffin out, if I remember, out in the great state of Virginia. Joe Griffin says, John J. finally got my business up and running. Congratulations, man. I wish I could start a business. I am broke as hell. Anyway, I'm just joking. Anyway, all right. But let's go back to the wonderful, wonderful news from my boy Joe Griffin. Congratulations on your new business. He also says, how are you? How is it going, brother? I am doing wonderful. And congratulations on your business. Hopefully one day maybe I could turn this little YouTube channel into a little podcast business. Everything takes time, but I am a hopeful person. I'm never negative. Sometimes I do, lose my temper on things, that are not really important. Just like all of us, we're all human. But anyway, little funny moments. And he likes my shades. Thank you very much, Joe Griffin. All right. I skipped this comment, but I showed it already. Soli says, what do you all think is Kyle's offense? Kyle's offense is different from last year. What are your thoughts, Shifty?
Well, especially I think I kind of just was like mentioning it there. What ended up becoming a huge part of the offense was running the ball with Deebo Samuel, and the NFL has essentially figured that out. Now, something that I've been kind of banging the table for, especially the last few games, is to use that as a decoy, to use that play as a decoy, whether it's, you fake the handoff to Deebo, because even though the plays aren't working really with Deebo running the ball outside of that one against Seattle, defenses still put so much attention on it that whenever we think they think that Deebo's going to get the ball, the entire defense just swarms over there. Now, if we do a play action off of it, throw it deep, or even if we hand it to Deebo and then maybe someone else comes on an end around and we are something different. We saw it against the Rams last year. Deebo threw for a touchdown pass. Maybe throw that in once in a while. But I think outside of that, the offense has looked, somewhat similar, but I do hope that we keep testing defenses when they give us those one-on-one matchups on the outside, whether it's Deebo, Ayuk, Kittle, or whoever, that we keep throwing the football down the field because normally good things happen. Normally you get the catch, you get the pass interference, NFL officials, and this is a whole other argument. I hate the officiating in the NFL. I can't. It's really hard to watch NFL games, and I'm gonna just leave that because I don't want to go into a whole rant about that.
Yeah.
But I think when it comes down to it, like we had to adjust the offense somewhat on the fly with Garoppolo coming in because Trey Lance got hurt. I think the offense has looked pretty good against Carolina, even though Carolina are just utter trash. Atlanta, I thought we were moving the ball fairly well. We just couldn't get the run game going, but. Yeah, I think with the offense, it's kind of getting to where it's looking last year, but we need to add a new wrinkle or something because the whole Deebo running it ain't working out.
Yeah, and CG basically on this comment agree with you about how the defenses are starting to figure out that if you take away Shanahan's, what he's been doing, Shanahan has to start opening up that playbook and start to take shots. But anyway, CG says costly interceptions, throw too high and didn't read the other receivers, was open, but he threw it to Deebo instead of an open Ayuk or George Kittle. And again, when you watch Jimmy Garoppolo, and again, I think this is one thing that a lot of people get wrong. And again, like my voice is basically a little pitch out of the giant big echo that's on YouTube and podcast and the media. But Jimmy did something in this game where he didn't do a lot. He surveyed the field. He looked around. He, with that offensive line, was doing a good job. Like Aaron Banks, actually, after I saw this game, Aaron Banks, he's the starting right guard for the next 4 or 5 years, whatever his contract ends. And Spencer Burford, the only guy right here who was right. Spencer Burford, we found our two guards, our right guard and our left guard. Okay. So we found those two guys. Now we got to figure out the center. So, but Brenda, oh my goodness. But let's go back to Jimmy was surveying the field. He was not just throwing his first option. On a lot of the short passes, he was surveying down the field. And when he didn't see no one open, he threw the ball to the person on his checkdowns. And a lot of people don't want to give Jimmy credit for that. You want to know why? Because they want to continue to paint the narrative and write how Jimmy is the worst thing since sliced bread. Now, sliced bread, for those who've ever had, who was at the bottom of the barrel when it came to like being hungry, sliced bread is not as bad as you think. So Jimmy is an economical way of saying, hey, he's not as bad. If I got no food, but I got a bunch of sliced bread, I'm going to eat the sliced bread. So we have to start giving Jimmy the credit. Now, again, I'm not saying Jimmy's perfect, and I'm not trying to say you need to start to bow down. Oh, Jimmy's great. No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying you have to give him the credit. If you don't want to do that, then go to another YouTube channel and go over there, because some people are afraid to say that. I don't know why, but anyway, I digress. All right, jet sweeps, Danny Gray. I can only dream Shanahan. And yep, I hope. Joe says, thanks a lot, brother. Don't worry, you'll have your own business this year. Thank you very much, Joe. I needed that. Wonderful. All right. Aaron Banks has proven to be great, hasn't allowed pressure sacks through 6 games. Burford, I expect some lumps from him starting. He will get better. I'm glad he's getting the opportunity at start. So we finally found our guards of the future. Now we got to look at the right tackle and the center of the future. Trent Williams, as long as he's healthy, we keep him healthy, he'll be there. But eventually we have to start to develop a young guy. That's why you have Colton McKivitz and Jalen Moore. But now we got to figure out the right tackle and the center. All right. So, Shifty, you saw the game. You saw this drive. So, the Niners defense stopped the Falcons with around just a little bit under 11 minutes. And after the punt, the Niners had 10 minutes and 49 seconds down by 2 scores. So I wanted to get your thoughts on the clock management. What was Kyle doing? Because you remember we were still inside our 20-yard line, and then the 3rd and short, we run the ball for a quarterback sneak. Give me your thoughts on this drive. What did you see? Were you happy? Were you angry? What are your thoughts about this drive?
Very frustrating, man. We're down 2 scores, 2 touchdowns. It's not like we're down a touchdown and a field goal. Down 2 touchdowns, and it was taking way too long. I understand the first couple of plays, you really have to be careful because you're at the 1-yard line. You don't want another fiasco like what happened in Denver. But we were able to get a nice play call. I think it was to Kittle, and he ended up getting about 8-9 yards on one of the first play. But after that, I was kind of the whole time, I was like, let's go. Like, oh, they're huddling up again. Oh, there's now 30 seconds gone off the clock. And it's like, what are we doing here? Here's the thing. If our defense was playing lights out all game where we felt like we can easily force a 3 and out on Atlanta, then I could maybe understand taking a little bit longer. But our defense really struggled to get 3 and outs. We struggled to slow down their offense, especially running the ball, which just chews up the clock. So really baffling to me. The Garoppolo's a veteran. He's been with the team for 5 years now. I know it's, but I just don't get how it could take so long. We saw Garoppolo last year. Think back to week 18 of last year against the Rams. There's 52 seconds left, and we're able to drive 75 yards for a touchdown. Here we took 7-8 minutes and we got nothing out of it, which is just crazy. That fourth down throw was awful, by the way, from Garoppolo. That's another thing that I'll kind of harp on him. I didn't like that play call at all, but or just the decision to go to Debo when he was like double covered. But anyways, I really thought there'd be a lot more of a sense of urgency because, again, just because the defense was having a lot of trouble getting off the field. So it just didn't make a ton of sense to me. I think Kyle tried to justify it in his press conference, and that's something where I was just like, I can't agree with him on that. You know, when you're down 2 touchdowns, you got to hurry the ball up. And yeah, it was frustrating. I think this whole game was really frustrating to watch.
Mm-hmm. CG has thoughts on Jake Brendel. Let's read it. And it's not, it's harsh criticisms, but I'm going to read it. Jake Brendel, it's hard to be positive about when he is trash. Wow, strong words. Though Shanahan values center higher, Jake Brendel was by far the worst center in the NFL. He makes Tom Cotton look like a pro, but look at those, that harsh criticism right there. But I'm not going to lie with CG. I think I would have been more nicer, but to way to put it. But yeah, so that's all right. And Joe Griffin says, driving, but still tuning in. Thank you very much. And stay safe on the road, man. Okay. I do not want nobody watching me or listening to me when they're driving. You know, I don't know if you drive shifty, but I'll tell you right now, I've been behind the wheel, and there are moments where I want to play the radio. I get very nervous.
Get distracted. It can be easy to get distracted, but yeah, just keep an eye on the road. And I'm glad that you're tuning in, but yeah, stay safe out there. And
yeah. I wanted to say this just for fun. Like, I know it's not 49ers related, but my buddy drives very awkwardly. Like he basically like drives like his seat's all the way back, and he's driving. I was like, so I was very nervous when he was doing that, but he made it work. So I will never ever criticize someone. But anyway, I think I exposed somebody, but luckily nobody knows who this person is, and they don't know that I have a YouTube channel. All right. CG says, I know offensive line talent when I see it. All right. So here are my simple thoughts on this 8 minutes and a half drive. So the drive ended with 2 minutes and 26 seconds. The drive started with 10 minutes and 40. So about almost 8.5. So it was sort of like a 9-minute drive. Why, Kyle, did you not have more urgency? So, but I'm going to digress and move on. So, because I don't want to anger myself anymore. So I'm just going to keep it, because I've already said, but anyway, David says it's Niners. Oh, damn, Dave. Brendo sucks. All right. All right. So I wanted to ask Shifty 2 questions that I asked my fans yesterday. Is a 49er topic. So the 49ers are 3-3, and I want to know, Shifty, what is the reason why we're 3-3? Should we blame the injuries, which happens in football? Should we blame the coaching, even though we know how Kyle coaches? What is the reason why, or maybe it's another factor that I have not spotted, but what is the reason why this team is 3-3?
I think it's a number of reasons. Injuries certainly play a part in it. I think coaching does too. And then also just execution as well. Like I think back to that Chicago game, and then that was really frustrating, like week 1, simply because it seemed like the execution got really lax, especially on defense. But look, the offense wasn't playing well at all. So, but you look back to that Chicago game and that touchdown to Dante Pettis, the touchdown to their tight end, we just didn't play within the defense. We didn't stay focused, but so that was really tough to watch. I think some of the games too, it's poor execution. Some of it's coaching, where there's definitely decisions where you're like, what was that call? Like against Denver, the safety. And that's that ended up being the difference. We lost 11-10. That call for Garoppolo. Now Garoppolo needs to kind of know where he's at on the field. He can't step out of bounds. but also that play call when you're backed up there, not a good play call. So that's where you can blame coaching. Then you look at injuries too. I mean, I think with the Atlanta game, if we have our even like most of our defense, like we probably play a lot better. Atlanta was gashing us in the run game. And I think a big part was we didn't have Kinlaw, we didn't have Armstead, and who knows when those guys are coming back. But you know, I think it's, to me, I would probably spread it around to like a different, I have to kind of look at like each thing kind of individually. But I think it's like it's but what you're asking is injuries or coaching. It's definitely both, in my opinion. But also player execution, where, you know, looking specifically at the Atlanta game, you know, like the drop passes, I think that was a significant reason. The fumble by Jeff Wilson Jr. Can you blame that on injuries? Maybe you could blame it and say, well, if only Elijah Mitchell was out there, he wouldn't have fumbled. Well, we don't know that. Can you blame that on coaching? It was a run up the middle. I know he actually got like a decent gain on the play, I think. But Jeff Wilson Jr. fumbled the ball. You know, we've seen other players, and, you know, I think I have to kind of like think about it a little bit more. It's a really, really good question. But I would put it down to like just those three factors: injuries, coaching, player execution. And it usually happens when it gets bad, it just all happens at once. Like you look at Atlanta, the coaching, I mean, the Atlanta game, you could blame all three. Charvarius Ward goes out injured. Ebu comes in and out injured. McGlinchey's gets out injured. Then you look at the coaching, that drive that you just talked about, that we talked about, the 8-minute drive, not good coaching. The execution, players dropping passes. So it's it's a little bit of everything, and I think that's what makes it like really frustrating, that we see there's times where the Niners look really good. Like the game against the Rams, we absolutely clobbered the Rams. Like that game wasn't close. We clobbered the Panthers. And then you have like some really disappointing games, like the Denver game. You have the disappointing game against Atlanta, the Bears game. So there's just no consistency. Now, I think we do have to put a little bit of perspective on this, because I think with a lot of Niner fans, and myself included to a certain degree, we're 3-3. We haven't played that many good teams. What's going on? I do want, and I've said this before, but I do want to throw it out there. Could you imagine if we beat the Chiefs on Sunday? If we do beat the Chiefs, how much better the season's going to look? Like this time next week, John Jay, you and I are talking next Thursday. Imagine if we beat the Chiefs, how positive we'll be. We'll be like, oh, we beat the Chiefs. Now we have the Rams again, and we beat them before. Then we go into the bye week. Maybe we're 5-3. So it's even though I don't think we're going to beat the Chiefs, but if we do, then football is so week to week, because I think a lot of 49er fans, and even like the Vegas betting lines and everything, thought that we were going to go in to Atlanta and beat them. Everyone thinks Kansas City is going to come into Levi's and beat us. You never know what can happen. Maybe our first drive of the game, maybe we go down and score 7. Maybe someone, the Kansas City Chiefs, maybe they fumble the ball. Maybe Mahomes throws an interception. Bam, maybe we're up 14-0. And all of a sudden Chiefs are like, hey, what's going on here? So it's, yeah, sorry, I kind of rambled, but I'll toss it back to you. I will digress.
Yeah. I was the only person who said this game is not going to be a cakewalk. And everyone was looking at me, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk. I have never been wrong when it comes to the teams that we play. I knew. So basically, when the Bears came in, I think we all were goofing around with the Bears fan who no longer shows his face in this chat no more, because that's how they are. And he was putting some perspective, you know, and I said, I agree. But on paper, we had everyone healthy. Everyone was healthy. We had no excuse. And we can't say, you know, Trey Lance, that was his first game. It was raining. You got to give him a pass. Every game is difficult, but I was wrong with that game. I felt that we were going to beat the Bears. I didn't think we were going to blow them out, but I felt that we were going to beat the Bears. I felt we were going to beat the Seahawks, because I know the Seahawks were trash, but now after 6 weeks, I don't know what the heck the Seahawks are, but we blew them out. I was right about the Broncos. The Broncos are a garbage team. And I had that wonderful, wonderful lady, Broncos for Dummies. She was overhyping her team, and I was having some fun with her, but I felt that they were trash. They are trash. They're 2-4. They might start 2-5. So anyway, we should have beat them as well. I said our history against the Rams, history has always been on our side, and we beat the Rams. I said we were going to beat the Panthers because the Panthers were trash. No one believed me. I said the Falcons are a team that are underappreciated, and we were doing the same thing we did with the Bears. What happened? We're 3-3. So that's the NFL for you. I still feel that Kansas City is the better team. I still think Kansas City is going to beat us, but Bosa's returning. I'm not sure how much that's going to help out. Trent Williams is supposed to return. Don't know how much that's going to help out. But even with any extra little help uh, from our team getting some players back, the Niners have a chance to put points on the board. Will we win? I don't know. This is a game that's so confusing right now. But on paper, the Chiefs are the better team. Hopefully, we can do like what the Bears and the Falcons did to us, and we do what we could do and beat them. So that's just my thoughts about that. We got some comments that I want to get out the way. So Fialua says they should change Poe from guard to center. Yeah, I want to see Poe on the active roster. All right, everyone is saying hello in the chat. CG says Banks improved his shape and tone. Burford showed that he is capable of doing it. He's well improved. McGlinchey is soft pass blocker, but runs very well. Trent Williams, yeah. So, that's 100% true. All right, Soli says, I've been saying we should promote Poe. True. All right, then he said ESPN will call us Super Bowl contenders. I'm not sure why he said that. I believe we can beat the Rams and Chargers. Yep. I don't know about the Chiefs. All right. Fialua says, here's my reason. First game, I blame the rain. Second, that was Jimmy's first game. Remember, he didn't practice. Third game, looked like the Niners went out all night and they were tired. Yeah. All right. Yep. All right. I honestly didn't underestimate the Falcons. And Fialua says, no, Shifty. I told John yesterday, Niners winning next 3 games. If it happens, I'll give Fialua his credit. If it doesn't happen, I'm not going to be on Fialua. I'm realistic with this team. I know, some people aren't. But anyway, CG says, can we stop Kelsey? Their receivers aren't explosive. No Hill, Juju, Hardman aren't consistent like Hill. But they're still 4-2. All right. So we talked about that. All right. Now we are finally talking 49ers and Chiefs because there was a lot of talk about 49ers versus Chiefs preview. Are you excited for this game? I hear it's a Sunday game of the week. So that's to be a little positive. Hopefully we play well in front of the entire NFL audience. But your thoughts on the 49ers and Chiefs?
Man, I really am excited for this game, and simply because you mentioned it. Bosa back at practice, Trent Williams back at practice. Those are our best 2 players, unquestionably. But you know what was also really good news? Jason Verrett. Now, what kind of Jason Verrett are we going to get? But he's been fully cleared. So getting a guy like Jason Verrett's really going to help out in terms of covering their receivers. Now, beyond that, I think a big thing is going to be when it comes to Charvarius Ward. Now, I know he didn't practice yesterday. Not sure if he's practicing today, but he really wants to go against his former team. So if we can get Charvarius Ward and Jason Verrett out there, I think it's really going to help out significantly. Now, at the end of the day, I think we really have to be able to do what Atlanta did to us last Sunday. We have to be able to control the clock, run the football, can't have any silly mistakes, and we have to play within ourselves defensively. We can't give up the big splash plays to Mahomes. We have to force them to go down the field, earn every single yard, and then maybe they'll make a mistake here or there. Fumbles happen in the NFL. We saw Pat Mahomes. He threw 2 interceptions last Sunday. if you look at the Niners defense, it's still very good. And then if you add in getting Bosa back, getting Verrett, maybe Charvarius Ward, Jimmy Ward maybe going to play with that club on his hand, but I don't think we'll see very much of him. I think they'll either save him for the Rams or the Chargers after the bye week. But look, at the end of the day, I mean, if I was betting on the game, I'm betting on the Chiefs to win. But there's a lot of different scenarios where the 49ers can win this game. So I don't want to say that I'm not going in there thinking that we're going to get blown out. I know for a fact that any of the guys who were on the 2019 team, they're going to be like, we got to go out there and get some revenge for that Super Bowl. I know Kittle, Debo, Shanahan, Garoppolo, all those guys who were on that team, Fred Warner, they've all circled. They're all like, hey, this game is one that we want to get some revenge for. So, and I know people talk about, oh, the Chiefs lost last Sunday. They're going to come out wanting to get a win. Well, we got embarrassed last Sunday too. You think the Niners aren't going to play with some pride? Of course, we're going to play with some pride. We're going to try and go out there and give them our best shots. So, at the end of the day, look, I do think the Chiefs are the better team, especially when you look at just like the difference in quarterback play. But I do think we have a chance. I can see a number of scenarios where we win the game. I think we're just going to need control the ball. If we can force a couple of turnovers, maybe special teams will make a big play. But yeah, there's a lot of different things that are going to go into it for sure. Like we have to exploit their defense because their defense, I like their defensive line. Chris Jones, Frank Clark, the rookie George Karlaftis, but their linebackers are so-so. Justin Reed's a good safety, but beyond that, I think they're missing a number of players in their secondary. So maybe we see Danny Gray, maybe we, get some deep throws. So I know we're playing for a lot of pride. So I'm really excited for this game. I really think it's going to be a good one.
Yeah. So CG says first, hold on. CG said first, Chiefs running game is underrated. And then CG also said, force Mahomes to throw because he is inconsistent. Why you think Rodgers doesn't want him back, and take away Kelsey by limiting him. All right. Joe Griffin says, I wonder what the game plan for Sunday is. Jimmy Garoppolo doesn't need to throw 40 plus if we play Niner football. Yep. Like for me, when I look at this game, in just my opinion, and this is just my opinion, is that Kansas City, they have Juju Smith-Schuster. He's not a bad receiver. He's just he's just young and immature, but he's a good wide receiver. They have Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who was from the Packers. He's not a bad wide receiver. So, and then they have Travis Kelce. So they do have weapons. Now, yes, Juju and Marcus Valdes-Scantling are not Tyreek Hill, but they still have a good defense. They're 4-2. All their games have been competitive. They played against a tougher team than we did, and they lost. Is what it is. So when I look at these two teams, they're both trying to get a signature victory. I know if the Chiefs beat the 49ers, it's not going to be a signature because we have been playing awful. But if the Niners get the victory against the Chiefs, this will be something really good for the 49ers so they can build on. And it will also be bad for the Chiefs because then they'll be 4-3. So that'll be good for us. If we can beat them and make them 4-3, that's a plus. If we beat them at home, that's a plus. And if Jimmy outplays Patrick Mahomes, which is not going to happen, but there's still a possibility, it'll be really good for the 49ers. But the way I look at this game is that it's going to be Kyle versus Andy Reid. I think this is going to be the biggest talking point. It's not going to be how we play. Then the next thing is our returning defensive player. We talked about Jimmy Ward. He's going to be playing with a club. It looks like a boxing glove, so that's kind of weird, but that's funny. So I don't think he's going to be very effective with that club on his hand. I think he will be just doing a lot of base coverage, covering the receivers, making sure he doesn't get burned. Nick Bosa, what I do know of Nick Bosa, he'll probably be Nick Bosa, I don't think he'll have a sack, but I think he'll provide the pressures and it will help the defensive line, which will be the reason why Patrick Mahomes will either get sacked or the running back will get tackled behind the line of scrimmage because of our depth at the defensive line. And for offense, it's going to be how good Trent Williams plays after, I think, missing 3 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks of football. So those are going to be some big factors of the preview of the 49ers and Chiefs game. So that's just my thoughts on that. All right, let's go back to the comments. Crazy Jew says, well, we also need to keep their defense on the field. True. CG says, it reminds me of the Rams offense because Chiefs got Kelsey. Kelsey's different than Cooper Kupp because Kelsey can go down the field. All right. Fia Lua says the position that the Chiefs are better than the Niners tight end. Yep. PG says, if you saw what Raiders did, they forced Mahomes to beat them. All right. What's up, Carcast? Carcast is in the building. Shout out to my boy Carcast, who's in the building. He's the youngster and the future of podcasting. Mahomes and Kelsey is just Rockets with a duo. My God. All right. Let's see some of the other comments. Fialua, we win the game. All right. CG says Ward could easily force a fumble with that club. Oh, man. And everyone is saying hello in the chat. All right. Now the final topic of the show, keys to victory. So, Shifty, what are your keys to victory for the 49ers to win this game?
We got to control the time of possession. We need to have significantly more of the ball. We need to limit how many opportunities the Chiefs have to basically put up points. I do think that we need to I think we need to get some big splash plays going as well. So we need to couple it with long sustained drives mixed in with a couple of big plays. When I say big plays, I'm not talking like 60-yard passes, 70-yard passes. I'm talking interceptions, big plays on special teams, for example. But I think a really key thing is going to be whether Talanoa Hufanga plays because, and I'll explain why, is that the Chiefs know that we have a good pass rush, especially with Bosa coming back. So they're going to always try and get the ball out quickly. All season long, we've seen Hufanga play really aggressive right around the line of scrimmage. So the Chiefs going to try and do really quick passes. We saw Hufanga, of course, make the huge, awesome play against the Rams and return it for a touchdown. So he's going to be right around there looking to make another big play like that. So I think that's going to be a huge thing. If Hufanga does play, I think that's really going to help us out. But then like we've kind of talked about in the comments and ourselves is that, look, we know the Chiefs offense, Travis Kelce is their guy. Whether it's 3rd and 7, he's the guy who's going to get 8 yards. He's going to extend drives in the red zone. He's the guy. He had 4 touchdowns against the Raiders. So I think Fred Warner, Dre Greenlaw, they need to have a big time game against Travis Kelce. We see the Niners do a lot of zone defense, and we're still going to play a lot of zone. But I'd be curious to see if D'Amico comes out and says, look, Fred or Dre Greenlaw, you guys just need to try your best to lock down Travis Kelce, let the wide receivers beat us. And then if you think about it with the defense, if we have Verrett, if we have Charvarius Ward back, then that could really help us out a lot. But I think it's going to be, making big plays defensively. The defense has to be a lot better. The offense is going to have to put up at least 24 to 28 points this game. Whether they can do that, we'll see. But if the defense can help us out with a defensive touchdown or some big plays to set us up in good field position, then I think we have a chance to win this game. Again, look, ultimately, if I had to bet on this game, I'm saying the Chiefs beat us, but there's a lot of different ways where we can win this game too.
Mm-hmm. Like for me, I'm gonna be very quick with my keys to victory. The coaching has to be better when we're on offense. So that's going to be the biggest factor, the coaching. The second biggest factor is that don't lose your identity. if our offense is boring and just like we run, screen pass, quick slants, things like that, keep the identity of the offense. The third thing on the offense is that making sure that if Jimmy has time, make sure Jimmy makes the right decisions. And on defense, when it comes to the defense, how well the players play returning, because a lot of players will be returning from injury. Ufunga didn't play. I don't know about Charvarius Ward, but for sure Bosa will be returning, and we'll see what happens on the defensive side of the ball. But the biggest thing is going to be that now Fred Warner will have to be incorporated more on the defense with on the pass schemes, the run blocking, the run stopping, blitzing. Fred Warner is going to be a huge important factor for the 49ers on the defense, depending on who is going to play and who's not going to play. So those are some important factors for the 49ers. All right, CG says, I'd rather take shots from Scanlon than throw into Travis Kelce. I'm curious how Verrett plays coming off an injury, off an ACL injury. Joe Griffin says, no turnovers, limit Jimmy to 25 passes, force turnovers, and slow Kelce down. 49ers 27, Kansas City 20. That's what Joe Griffin says. Joe Griffin also says, protect Jimmy. Crazy Jew says, yeah, our defense needs to play just how they play against the Lambs. Via Lewis says, stop Kelce, double team him. Agreed. And CG says, I'm hoping Charvarius plays because he should be a personal game. Oh, yeah, because he played with the Chiefs. Crazy Jew says 24-21. All right. But just like we always end the show, Shifty, shout out everyone in the chat. Shout out to Shifty for tuning into the show. Let the fans know who you are one more time.
All righty, Shifty's 49ers talk. Born in San Francisco, live in San Francisco. 49ers content creator. I stream the games every week. They're a lot of fun, really good attendance. So thank you to everyone here who stops by the streams and anyone else who may watch this video. And then you can catch me on Twitter, Shifty 49ers Talk, Instagram, Shifty 49ers Talk. I'll be putting out a video for a preview of the Kansas City game. It'll be either out tonight or tomorrow. But that should be a really fun video to check out, especially if you're at work, you need something to listen to pass the time. Hopefully you'll tune in for that. But yeah, it's just 49ers all damn day. That's all I can really say.
49ers all damn day. And I will say this, I got to get a merch store so I can start writing all these phrases down on T-shirts. But great show. We've been on, every time the time flies by. It's always fun talking with Shifty. But with that said, everybody, Shifty's right next to me. I know he's gonna point, next to me. But with that said, I'm John Jay with Shifty 49ers Talk. This is the Candlestick Point Report. You have a good rest of your day, and go Niners.